Have you ever dealt with someone so rude that it left you speechless? Do you ever wish you had the perfect words to respond without losing your cool? What if you could disarm rudeness without raising your voice or sinking to their level? Welcome to the Stoic Way, where we turn ancient wisdom into powerful tools for modern challenges. If you value emotional strength, self-mastery, and real-world self-improvement, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You never know who might need this today. Now, let's explore how to leave a rude person absolutely speechless, without saying much at all. 1. Calmly set the tone. When someone approaches you with disrespect, it's easy to feel the heat rise in your chest. That internal tension builds, and the natural instinct is to respond in kind, to raise your voice, to throw the insult back twice as hard, to reassert dominance. But the Stoic path teaches a different approach. Strength and composure. The real power lies not in volume, but in presence. When you respond to disrespect with calm confidence, you change the game entirely. You become an immovable object rather than an explosive reaction. Think of it like this. Every time someone disrespects you, they are extending an invitation to join them in chaos. Your job isn't to accept the invite. Your job is to remain grounded, to let your presence speak louder than their words. A simple line like, "I'm not the one," try someone who accepts disrespect, does more than set boundaries. It sends a clear signal. I will not be manipulated. I will not stoop. I refuse to engage at a lower frequency. This sentence is sharp without aggression, firm without hostility. It tells the person that you see their game and that you're not playing. More often than not, people who expect a dramatic response are disarmed by a calm one. They expect escalation, not grace under fire. This tactic works because it shifts the dynamic. When you're calm, it reminds the other person that they're the only one losing control. And in that contrast, they suddenly see their own behavior more clearly. Calmness acts like a mirror, reflecting back their chaos. From a Stoic lens, this is the essence of apatheia. Not apathy in the modern sense, but an unshakable serenity that comes from understanding what's within your control. You can't control how others behave, but you can always choose how you respond. When you answer disrespect with composure, you claim the highest form of control, mastery over yourself. And that mastery becomes contagious. People begin to adjust around you, not because you demand it, but because your energy commands it. You've set the tone, and now they either match it or remove themselves. Either outcome is a win. 2. Don't give their opinion power. There's something profoundly liberating about realizing that not every opinion needs your attention. In fact, many don't even deserve a moment of your energy. People will talk. They'll criticize. They'll project their insecurities onto you and try to make their voices sound like truth. But here's the kicker. It only matters if you let it. Your opinion doesn't carry enough weight to offend me. That sentence is like armor. It's not just a comeback. It's a philosophy. It says, I've done the inner work. I've built a foundation so strong that random noise doesn't shake it. That's power. This is where Stoicism offers clarity. Epictetus once said, it's not things that disturb us, but our judgment of them. What someone says is just a sound wave, a string of words. It's our judgment, our decision to give it meaning. That creates the disturbance. So what happens when you stop giving it meaning? When you simply choose not to internalize, you reclaim peace. The moment you stop letting their voice override your inner voice, you take back control. That doesn't mean you become indifferent to all feedback. Constructive criticism from those you respect is valuable, but the casual judgment of strangers or those who speak from malice, that's background noise. And background noise should never be the soundtrack to your life. When you respond to a rude remark with indifference, true, serene indifference, it becomes obvious that the rude person has no power. They might try harder, pushing more buttons, hoping for a reaction. But the more you remain centered, the more they realize those buttons are disconnected. And eventually, they stop trying. Imagine being in a room full of critics and still walking tall, unbothered. That's what happens when you decide that their opinions don't hold currency in your mental economy. You've stopped trading in their judgment and started investing in your own self-worth. This is what makes Stoic confidence so unshakable. It's not performative. It doesn't rely on the validation of others. It's a deep, quiet knowing that says, I know who I am. Your words don't define me. And once you reach that level, you become untouchable in the best way. 3. Call out the attention game. Not every insult is about offense. Sometimes it's a cry for attention dressed up in sarcasm, disrespect, or outright hostility. And once you see it for what it is, it becomes a lot easier to handle. Because now you're not responding to the surface-level jab. You're addressing the motive underneath. That's an odd way to beg for attention. It's a sentence that cuts through the noise and gets to the heart of the issue. With just a few words, you've done 3 things: deflated their power, exposed the tactic, and refused to play the role of the offended party. This is important because people who play the attention game are banking on one thing: your reaction. They want your energy. They want you flustered, loud, defensive. Anything that puts the spotlight on them. It's not even about you. It's about their need to feel significant, even if it's through conflict. But when you remain calm and call out the behavior, you take that spotlight away. You show them that not only are you unaffected, you're observant. You've pulled back the curtain and revealed the weak strategy underneath. In Stoic philosophy, this is a direct application of understanding external impressions. You recognize the insult, you evaluate it rationally, and you decide not to let it disturb your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By calmly exposing the attention-seeking game, you demonstrate that power. Even more, you discourage the behavior from continuing. Once someone sees that their bait isn't working, that it's being analyzed instead of absorbed, they lose the incentive to keep trying. You've taken away the reward. No reaction, no payoff. This technique also shifts the balance in conversations. You become the one setting the tone, reading the room, and holding the frame. The aggressor loses momentum because you're not flinching, you're diagnosing. You've switched roles from target to observer, and in doing so, claimed authority over the interaction. And the best part? You don't need to insult them. You don't need to raise your voice. Just one calm, clever remark and silence. That silence does more damage to their ego than any shouting match ever could. In the end, this kind of emotional discipline doesn't just protect your peace. It amplifies your presence. People start to sense that they can't manipulate you, that you're not reactive, and that your power comes from within. And in a world where outrage is currency, being calm is rebellion. 4. Choose silence over empty noise. There's a kind of power that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't scream, argue, or wave its arms to be seen. Instead, it waits. It watches. And when the moment calls for it, it speaks, or chooses not to. That's the power of silence. In a world addicted to noise, where everyone is trying to be louder, more clever, more reactive than the next person, silence is often mistaken for weakness. But in truth, it is often the greatest show of strength. Silence is not about avoiding confrontation. It's about owning the moment so completely that you don't need to waste energy proving yourself. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every opinion requires your participation. In fact, the more reactive you are to meaningless chatter, the more control you hand over to others. But when you choose silence, deliberate, thoughtful silence, you stay grounded in your own power. Think about it. When someone is throwing insults, fishing for your reaction, or simply talking to fill the space, what happens when you don't respond? You hold your energy. You show that you're not playing their game. You communicate, without saying a word, that their noise is just that, noise. And when the moment comes that requires a response, you don't match their chaos. You respond with clarity and restraint. That's when a line like, "Every time you speak, it reminds me why silence is golden," hits like a thunderclap, not because it's loud, but because it's calm, it's calculated, it's true. This is a lesson the Stoics mastered. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote that we should waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In other words, let your actions, and sometimes your silence, speak louder than any words ever could. There is dignity in restraint. When you choose silence in the face of provocation, you are practicing self-mastery. You are saying, I don't need to win this petty battle. I've already won the war within myself. You are no longer chasing validation, approval, or the need to be right. You are secure in your own understanding. This is especially powerful in today's world, a world of online arguments, social media outrage, and endless debates. The temptation to respond to everything can be overwhelming. But ask yourself, is this adding value to my life? Is this helping me grow? Or is it just pulling me into someone else's chaos? True power is quiet. It doesn't flinch when challenged. It doesn't rush to correct the ignorant. And it definitely doesn't stoop to the level of someone trying to provoke it. There will be people who talk just to dominate a space. They believe the loudest person wins. But if you've ever watched a truly confident person in a room, you know this. They don't rush to speak. They don't interrupt. They wait. They listen. And when they do speak, everyone leans in. That's the power of disciplined silence. It's not absence, it's presence. It's a reminder that real strength isn't found in constant talking. It's found in choosing when to speak, and more importantly, when not to. So the next time someone tries to bait you with empty noise, remember, not every battle is yours to fight. Not every insult is worth your breath. And sometimes the most articulate thing you can say is nothing at all. 5. Show you can't be shaken. There's a kind of peace that comes from knowing no one can pull you off balance. It's the kind of peace that doesn't come easy. It's earned through discipline, self-awareness, and a decision to no longer let others dictate your emotional state. When someone comes at you with hostility, mockery, or passive-aggressive jabs, what they're really doing is testing you. They want to see if they can get under your skin. They want to watch you flinch. They want to see if their words can stir something in you. And if they succeed, if you respond with anger or offense, they win, not because they were right, but because they gain control. But if you stand your ground, look them in the eye, and say calmly, if you're trying to hurt my feelings, you'll have to try a lot harder, you flip the script. You deny them what they came for. You show that your emotions aren't up for grabs. That's Stoic strength in action. To be unshaken is not to be cold or emotionless. It's to be rooted in self-control. It's to have such a deep understanding of yourself that no insult, no opinion, no attempt to bring you down can take hold. Their words might land, but they don't stick. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." That's the key here. Most of the pain others try to inflict on us comes not from their actions, but from our reactions. It's the stories we tell ourselves about what their words mean. It's our fear of how others see us. But once you detach from that, once you realize that your self-worth is not dependent on someone else's judgment, you become untouchable. To those trying to bring you down, this is infuriating. They want you to lash out, to defend yourself, to be rattled. But instead, you give them calm. You give them presence. You give them indifference to their chaos. That's real power. There's nothing flashy about being unshaken. It doesn't look like bravado. It doesn't need to be loud or intimidating. It's subtle. It's quiet. It's in the way you don't respond to petty comments. It's in the way you stay composed under pressure. It's in the way you keep showing up unaffected, while others try to drag you into the mud. You see this kind of resilience in nature. The tree that bends in the wind but doesn't break. The mountain that stands through storm after storm. That's you when you stop letting others decide how you feel. Of course, this doesn't happen overnight. It takes work. It takes practice. It takes failing and learning and trying again. But every time you choose not to react, every time you stay centered, every time you walk away from an insult without carrying it with you, you're building that unshakable core. Being unshaken doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It means you don't get ruled by them. It means you have the clarity to pause before reacting, the strength to hold your ground, and the wisdom to know which battles are worth your energy. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. Their opinion is not your truth. Their anger is not your responsibility. And their attempts to bring you down only reveal their own lack of control. Stand tall. Stay still. Show them and yourself that you can't be shaken. 6. Make it clear they're not worth your energy. There's a powerful truth in the idea that not every battle is worth fighting. Some people thrive on conflict, drama, and emotional chaos. They push buttons, make snide remarks, or intentionally provoke because they crave a reaction. But the moment you engage with them on their level, you validate their behavior. You give them exactly what they want: your energy, your attention, your peace. This is why one of the greatest strengths you can develop is the discipline of disengagement. When you choose silence over shouting, calm over chaos, and composure over confrontation, you take back control. You reclaim your emotional space. People who are bent on provoking you are often operating from a place of insecurity or internal turmoil. They don't necessarily want resolution. They want recognition. They want proof that they matter, even if it's through negative interaction. That's why they bait you with drama. And when you refuse to give them what they want, when you rise above, you send a loud message in total silence. You haven't earned the right to affect me. Think about this. When someone throws a tantrum in a public space, who do they hurt more, themselves or the people around them? Most of the time, it's them. The ones who are watching may feel uncomfortable for a moment, but it's the person losing control who is truly exposed. The same applies to emotional provocateurs. When you choose not to react, you highlight their behavior in a glaring light. You turn their outburst into a mirror that reflects their desperation, not your weakness. A powerful phrase you can carry in your mind or use aloud, if necessary, is this: "You're not even on the level to get a reaction from me." It's not arrogant. It's measured. It's not disrespectful. It's honest. This statement helps reframe the interaction, especially for yourself. It reminds you that your time, your peace, and your emotional energy are resources, and not everyone is entitled to them. Mastering this mindset also sharpens your self-control. You begin to see the difference between emotional urgency and emotional intelligence. Urgency says, "They said something disrespectful, so I must respond." But intelligence says, "I see their game. I choose not to play." That's not weakness. That's strength and restraint. You'll notice, too, that when you stop feeding into reactive patterns, many people either lose interest or reveal their true motives. Those who genuinely want connection or clarity will adjust their approach. Those who simply want to provoke will walk away or escalate further, which only reinforces that they weren't worth your engagement to begin with. This form of stoic detachment doesn't mean becoming emotionless or indifferent. It means developing a deep sense of inner awareness. You know what deserves your voice and what doesn't. You know when to speak and when to let silence do the work. In many ways, silence can be the most dignified, powerful statement you make. Sometimes you'll hear people say things like, "If you don't stand up for yourself, people will walk all over you." That's only partially true. Standing up for yourself doesn't always require confrontation. Sometimes it just means walking away with your head high. It means showing that your energy is too valuable to waste on those who don't know how to receive it with respect. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember, you are under no obligation to join. Stay grounded, stay calm, and let your composure be your boundary. In doing so, you communicate a deeper truth. Not everyone deserves access to your energy, and that's perfectly okay. 7. Expose their insecurity with elegance. There's a subtle art to responding to disrespect, not with aggression, but with clarity. Sometimes, the most cutting insults are hidden in backhanded compliments, condescending tones, or sarcastic remarks. These comments may seem small on the surface, but they're often loaded with deeper intent. They're designed to chip away at your confidence while keeping the speaker in control. But here's the thing. People who behave this way are often speaking from a place of insecurity. Their words may be sharp, but their confidence is brittle. What they want is power over your emotions, your sense of self, your peace of mind. They want you to feel smaller so they can feel bigger. When you realize this, you take away their advantage. You stop personalizing the attack and start seeing the source. You understand that their jab isn't really about you. It's about how they feel inside. This realization alone shifts the dynamic. That's when you respond. not to defend yourself, but to reveal the truth beneath their words, not through rage, but through elegance. A response like, "That's a lot of effort just to sound insecure." It's disarming, it's calm, and it cuts straight to the core. Why does this work? Because it holds up a mirror. It forces the other person to confront what they're actually projecting. You're not yelling. You're not attacking. You're simply shining a light on the insecurity they hope to hide behind sarcasm or false superiority. People like this often rely on emotional reactions. They want you to stumble, get flustered, or fire back so they can position themselves as the rational one. But when you stay composed and respond with calm clarity, you throw off their entire strategy. You shift the power dynamic. You make it clear that you see through their facade, and you're not impressed. This kind of response takes emotional maturity. It requires you to pause, assess the situation, and decide how you want to be remembered in that moment. Do you want to be the one who lashes out, or the one who remains grounded while pointing out the obvious? It's also important to understand that elegance doesn't mean weakness. Being calm doesn't mean letting things slide. You're still drawing a boundary. You're just doing it with surgical precision. You're making it known that you won't be played with or disrespected, but you're not lowering yourself to pettiness to do it. Over time, this approach not only protects your peace, it builds your character. You become someone who doesn't react impulsively, someone who handles tension with poise. And that's a quiet power most people don't expect. It's also the kind of power that silences the noise and leaves a lasting impression. Remember, not every insult needs a battle. Sometimes it just needs a mirror. Hold it up with grace and walk away with your dignity intact. Emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about owning them so fully and deeply that no one else gets to decide how you feel or act. Every moment you choose calm over chaos, silence over shouting, and self-mastery over reaction, you're building a version of yourself that cannot be manipulated. That's the Stoic way. And in a world that's constantly trying to provoke you, that kind of control isn't just strength, it's freedom. So the next time someone comes at you with rudeness or disrespect, don't rise to their level. Rise above it. Let your presence speak louder than their noise. Let your energy set the tone, and let your silence say more than their insults ever could. Thank you for walking this path with me today. If this message resonated with you, share it. Someone out there is struggling with how to keep their cool, and your share might be the spark they need. Like, subscribe and stay tuned. This is more than motivation. It's mental armor for modern life. And remember, stay grounded, stay still, stay unshaken.